Okay, it is time. One last time. Another month has come and gone, and it is time for the December Choose Our Own Adventure podcast. This one's going out to everybody, man. Everybody in Paprika Land is getting this episode. So let's go around the table. If you've never listened to one of these, man, what we do is we took suggestions from you Paprikans and talk about anything pop culture related. We were here.
We dismissed about 3/4 of them.
And we're here to lay our answers down to the 25% that we did take as actual decent questions. Let's go around the virtual table here. Mr. Brian Martin, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing all right. Doing well. Yeah.
Yes, our test star, my champ. We also have Miss Leslie Ellsworth. How are you?
I am doing all right.
She is doing all right. And then we also have former draft champ, Jermon Jackson in the house.
Oh, man. I would like to refer to it as two-time draft winner.
Oh, okay. All right.
We highlight the positives here, man.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I mean,
two-time draft winner, Jermon
I
Jackson.
alluded to it with the comment a second ago about how he had to be very selective with the questions we went with, but I would say that's the second time the Paprikans let us down this week. The other time was when Jermon got roasted in that
Oh my
draft.
God.
Man, it was not good for you, sir.
He pulled Pete numbers
Damn.
on this draft.
like Pulp fucking Fiction in there. Ow.
You also had Space Jam.
If one movie was that much of a deal breaker to them, I don't ever want to see them talk about Space Jam ever. If they get nostalgic once over it, I'm going to call them on it.
Right, yeah. You sons of bitches.
It was definitely Space Jam that made it a no-go for me.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
I'm not a fan. I was not a fan when I was little. I was not a fan a few years ago when friends tried to pressure me into watching it. It is not for me.
See, and here I thought you'd get that Last Dance vote.
Oh,
Like everybody's been watching The Last Dance.
Didn't help, man.
None of that.
Did not work.
Looney Tunes love nothing.
It was a bold choice, and I applaud you for your bold choice. As soon as you said Space Jam, I was like, this motherfucker just lost everything.
Off of one? Wow.
Yeah, I wrote down a piece of paper, and I was like, that's one less person for me to worry about.
Just drew a big X through the entire column.
the whole list out, right?
As soon as you said that, Daryl got a big chessboard out on the table, meticulously set up all the pieces, and then just knocked over the king.
My greatest threat knocked off the board that quickly.
Oh, man.
What do you feel? How do you feel about, before we get into this, Brian, how do you feel your performance in this final draft, sir?
I feel like it was fine. I don't know that I would have changed anything. The only, I think it came down to that one round, and I said it, where I was like, I'm either going Friday or Sandlot, and whatever I don't pick is going to be the next one picked.
Yep.
And if I had switched, I don't know if that would have helped me or not, really. But I think that the Sandlot goes a long way with nostalgia, and I think everybody kind of loves it. So maybe that's it. And of course, just not drawing first or second really impeded my ability to get Jurassic Park, which was obviously Winstead's number one thing. And then he was out there like basically firing a shotgun into the sky trying to compel people to vote.
He warned you in the fucking.
He said it. He did say it in advance. Fair enough.
It's got to be.
One free vote for you if you got the first place choice.
Now, here's the question. If we had if Jermon had drafted Jurassic Park and then closed out with Space Jam, what would have happened?
Same thing.
It's like an immovable object meeting an unstoppable force.
Would have been interesting.
I always get it's weird because it seems like I always get that 1-2 punch, but then after that it's just like trash. You're beyond that.
Yeah, that's because it's 10 choices, not 2 choices.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
still got
Yes,
8
it's
other
10
choices. You
It's
gotta
10
make.
choices, but people are still basing it off of 1 or 2.
Oh yeah,
That's
you're
true.
not. Yeah,
That's
So-
true. That's true.
So I went
Fucking
through it
Paprika.
because I know that I immediately read Space Jam and was like, nope.
See, right
So
there,
I went
right
back.
there.
I went back and went through it and crossed out the ones that I had or had not seen, did or did not like, and you still lost. Player 3 was the only one that had everything that I had seen and enjoyed.
that would be Mr. Brian Martin.
Yes.
There we go. There we go.
Yes,
See,
yes.
I felt good about my list. I'm saying I
a
felt
good
good about it. I
list.
don't know that it would change very much.
It was
other
solid.
than getting Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a pretty solid list. Now I'm looking at it, man.
Yeah. I mean, they were.
I think everybody's list was pretty good
Yeah.
up until Space Jam.
Yeah, they were all pretty good. I haven't seen the Iron Giant. I haven't seen all of Tombstone. Not a Space Jam fan, and there was another one, but I don't remember what it was.
Ramon, if the order's correct, you got first. You also got last.
Yeah.
So the last pick in the last draft is Space Jam, and that will hang over Paprika
Oh,
like
my
some
God.
weird dark umbrella forever.
Forevermore.
Forevermore. All right, man. Let's get into
Hey,
it.
before we get into the questions, I just want to. We got to do our in memoriam for Quibi.
We got to do it for Quibi, and broke just 30 minutes before we started this show. Squiggy.
Yeah.
Of Lenny
yeah.
and Squiggy's fan.
Squiggy and Quibi.
Oh,
Try to say that.
And David
Yeah,
Prowse.
try to say that.
I think did we mention?
Oh, and Dave Prowse also died.
yeah.
Yeah, man, it's been rough out there in these 2020 streets. All the streets in the last 2 years have been doing this, man.
Mm.
Dave
There's
Prowse
almost-
did get got by COVID also.
I think
Oh, he
they
got
did
got
say-
like-
I think
It
they
was.
confirmed that.
Yeah.
It's not what you want.
No.
No,
You
not
hate
at all.
to see it. You hate to see it. So more him to those guys, man, and also to
And whatever
Quibi.
Quibi was, I don't know. I'm not even sure what it was.
Grand
It's
opening,
dead
grand
now.
closing.
Exactly. It didn't know what it was. So I think that is the part of the problem of poor Quibi. As interesting idea that wasn't really fleshed out. I would like to see the intellectual property that they are pushing out, if it goes to other services, or what will happen to that.
They had
That's
because they had an interesting lineup there. Because I know they had one. I think it was a horror themed show, but you can only watch it at sundown.
see, that's an interesting idea. Well, I mean, is that sundown? Sundown according to who?
I
According
guess
to your local time?
according to wherever you are. I'm assuming.
Interesting.
Yeah,
The start time backs up by like 5 minutes every day.
which means the West Coast is getting spoiled every single
Yeah.
time.
If
Oh,
they
those
were
poor
watching
bastards.
it.
Rude. Okay, so let's get into this, man. The first pick comes from Toma, the head of our Paprika Europe offices. And he said, what's some podcast recommendations to ease the pain of Paprika ending? I don't know if Paprika ending is painful for anybody. That's not me. But we can at least have some revelry and some joyous celebrations. Leslie, let's start with you. Do you have any recs for the peoples out there?
So I actually don't listen to a ton of podcasts. If you are into A Song of Ice and Fire, I recommend Radio Westeros or History of A Song of Ice and Fire. Or is did I get that wrong?
Yeah, it's Radio Westeros and the History of Ice and Fire.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
A more general one, Headcanon. And it's a podcast about storytelling is their little catchphrase. But it's two guys that I used to listen to on a Pretty Little Liars podcast. And they kind of review and talk about the different aspects of story in various pulp culture things. Like they did a few episodes, they did some of Buffy, they talk Star Wars. They're just huge geeks and love to podcast, love to talk about stories. So,
Oh, all right, that's pretty cool. I'll have to check that out, man.
yeah.
And what about you, Mr. Jermon Jackson, man? What podcasts might you recommend to the listeners to ease this pain?
There's a couple I listen to that might be kind of in their wheelhouse. I do listen to iFanboy from time to time. They do what they call is the Pick of the Week podcast. They'll read a lot of the new releases that come out each week and kind of talk about a few of the more notable ones, and they pick one
For comics.
Yeah, and they'll pick one I guess which they call the Pick of the Week, which is probably the best. What they in their opinion was the best book of that week. Also, I would definitely recommend maybe some of the stuff from those guys from the Nerdpocalypse.
Yeah, friends of the show, man.
Yeah.
Jackson Rao and gang.
Because their flagship show is pretty awesome. I love that and Black on Black Cinema.
Black on Black Cinema is great.
Those guys are hilarious.
Yeah, there's
for a second I thought it
episode.
was Men on Film from In Living Color, like they had a podcast.
That would be
Hated it.
awesome.
You know what? That would be great. And because isn't Will Ferrell doing a podcast in character as Ron Burgundy?
It's
Yeah,
really
he is.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that would be right up that kind of alley. You got any more there, Jamal?
The other one I really have been listening to lately, like if you're into comedy, is probably Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend.
Mm.
Just hilarious. He has celebrity guests on every week, and it is just an absolute riot. Like even listening to him do the sponsorships for different products is hilarious because he never stays on script with it.
No,
Gotta pay for his beach house.
So you got to pay for that beach house. That's right. With the seagull noise in the background. Yeah, that's a good call, sir. Good call. I recommend the Martin Short episode because that's that and Dana Carvey. Those are two
Dana
really
Carvey's episode, I had to stop driving the car. Like I was driving and it's like, this is too much. Like I can't see. I'm laughing too hard and I'm crying.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It is something
I
special.
liked Dion Cole was funny. His episode's funny as hell.
That shit was wild.
Yes.
All right, Brian, what are you recommending to the peoples?
So I've got a few. One of them is Robservations, which I know I've recommended to you recently. Rob Liefeld's podcast that he started during COVID, so he hasn't even been doing it a year yet. I think he's already got 100 and some episodes.
Jesus.
I think it's all he's doing at his house. He's sitting there drawing furiously and just ranting into a microphone for 90 minutes. But Liefeld is obviously a polarizing figure. Maybe not obviously if you're not into comics, but he's a very polarizing figure in the comics industry. But the cat knows what he's talking about. He's in comics just to make comics and have fun. And the best thing about his podcast is that he has some of the best impressions of other creators that you're ever going to hear. His Todd McFarlane in particular is just it'll knock you on your ass the first time you hear it. Another comic book centric podcast that is also a YouTube video channel, but they also upload the audio as podcast is Cartoonist Kayfabe by Jim Rugg and Ed Piskor.
Yeah.
They do a lot of deep dives into comic history, and they are extremely insightful. And they're both creators that do some pretty awesome stuff. There's a podcast some friends of mine used to do. They haven't really done it a lot lately, but there's a backlog you can find. The show's called Could Have Been Rad, where they take a movie and it's like three hosts, and they take a movie that wasn't good and each pitch their own take on that movie to improve it.
Nice.
And those are fun. One of my personal favorites was Left Behind,
The Nick Cage one?
which they did a pretty great job with that. And then the last one I'm going to recommend, and I haven't listened to it yet, but it's in my queue to listen to, is called Team Deacons. And it's Roger Deakins' podcast where he talks to filmmakers. So yeah, I mean, come on. So cinematographer Roger Deakin, the freaking Deacon himself, is talking to various filmmakers and people in the industry. It's sounds pretty interesting to me. So
Nice.
Yeah, I am all for that. And I got a handful as well. I want to throw out some Fat Man Beyond Love.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for my man Mark Bernard and Kevin Smith. If you are a fan of Kevin Smith in any way, shape, or form, then you will enjoy this podcast, and then you will become a fan of Mark Bernard. And if you're a fan of Mark Bernard, and then you already know who Kevin Smith is. But to start out as Fat Man on Batman, two dudes discussing love for Batman, has grown into something much bigger than that, where they just have takes on just pop culture in general, and it's laid back. It's two friends just having a fun time, and if you want to just get some more good pop culture in your life, there you go. Also, since Rob's Observations and Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend was stolen from me
In the podcast draft.
in the podcast, my second pick will be I'm going to do a couple friends of mine of the show, Geekcast Live. All four hosts, although one is never on Facebook. So 3.5 hosts: Ryan Elliott, Rob Bass, Joe Snedden. If those names are familiar to you, they have their own show called Geekcast Live. A couple of episodes ago on Pop Ricket, they did a GCL takeover, an episode that I had nothing to do with. They just came and filled in for me as hosts of the show, that episode, for which myself and Brian and Germán must repay that favor sometime soon, as they have access to. Also, if you know James Rambo, who's in the group as well, the Great Geek Refuge is also another Facebook group and podcast where they do the same thing, talk about all sorts of pop culture shenanigans. So check them out. The Duke and Duchess podcast, where they have a book club show, deep dive into all sorts of fantasy books. Husband and wife, whose last name happens to be Dukes, so I guess it kind of works. So if you were loving some fantasy, man, it's worth checking out their shenanigans. And then
Mayonnaise Heiress
Mayonnaise Heiress.
making a podcast.
And then over on YouTube, man, I'll give some quick love to Meet Me at the Movies, show that I've been on a couple times, produced by Noel T. Manning. He's the host there. They film it out of brain freeze. A college that is close by, whose name I've completely forgotten all of a sudden. But yeah, and it broadcasts on YouTube and the local channels in the area, man. So if you want to hear some more movie talk, and you will also see plenty of me guesting on there, and also Cinnamon host Douglas Davidson pops up on there as well. And the thing, you'll see us soon, depending on what time this episode comes out, as we are slated to be on there in the next week or two. So there you go. That's all sorts of shit for you guys to check out there. More than enough for you to check out. All also common theme, better than Paprika. So let's move it on over to our next person, Patrick O'Connor, he's been live in the Paprika threads for quite some time, going on 2 years or so. Worst superhero. And I'll go ahead and kick this one off so I can get me out of the way. Mine is not one person. Mine is a group of people. And it is the Great Lakes Avengers. That is, there is a team of Avengers that just works out of the Great Lakes. Mr. Immortal, Big Bertha, Doorman, and Dinosaur. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a character called Dinosaur. So when I first whipped this up, I was going to use Great Lakes Avengers as a joke to lead into what I was actually going to pick. And then I thought about it, and I was like, oh, no, it's just the Great Lakes Avengers. So, yeah, it's when I want to make fun of a group, the Great Lakes Avengers are my stand-in they're my whipping boy if I got to make fun of a superhero group. The name is stupid, the concept is stupid. Have an Avengers, I'll give you a pass on the West Coast Avengers, but not a Great Lakes Avengers.
See, I actually love when they pop up, because it's going to get absolutely absurd in a comic. They actually, I remember when they did an appearance in Deadpool in the late 90s. This was during that time, during the Heroes Reborn thing, where the FF and the Avengers were gone. So they had nobody to, base off of. So they called themselves the Lightning Rods, being that the Thunderbolts were the only superhero team in town.
Yeah.
And
they still have to be like Johnny Come Lately, try to ape like somebody else's fame to be able to get anywhere with it. I think the Great Lakes Avengers are also like their headquarters is probably like Doorman's apartment, it's just like, I don't think they're like basically a super team from the Tick that just exists in the Marvel universe, right? It's like, Yeah.
Like 'cause during that,
That's a good call.
it was like during that Deadpool issue, they had like Deadpool found out that Mr. Immortal, his ability was to, resurrection and everything. So he spends the entire issue killing him just for no reason.
Yeah. He was a member of the team for a little bit.
Yeah, of course, Squirrel Girl.
So Squirrel Girl kicked him out, I think, right?
Yeah.
You hate to see it. German, what do you have on this? Who's the worst superhero?
See, I went in a different direction as far as the definition of worst. Now, everybody that knows me knows I'm a big FF fan. So, anybody that asked me, even back in the days, knew my hatred for Namor the Submariner. He is just terrible. It's sad. How is it that you predate Aquaman, but you still feel like the knockoff? Like it's like, but the whole arrogance thing. He was just so arrogant, and then I never forgave him for just openly hitting on the Invisible Woman.
Openly. That's why I love him so much. 'Cause he just doesn't care about Reed's feelings at all.
No respect.
No respect. Like, you're barely a hero, sir. You're barely an anti-hero.
Yeah, he kind of walks that line because depending on who's writing him at the time, he could be hero or villain. Like,
I mean, he did fucking flood Wakanda a couple of years back.
He flooded Manhattan in the 30s. Like, I mean, this guy murdered. This dude straight up murdered thousands of people in New York City.
Yep.
And the idea that there is any way we can view him as a hero, like in his whole history, in the Marvel Universe's history, that humanity can get around to the fact where they're like, oh, Namor, yeah, he's a good guy. It's insane to me.
But yes, I mostly love him for his open hitting on Susan.
oh my god,
Terrible.
It is terrible.
Like, put on a shirt, man.
He's
like Jesus
Reed
Christ.
Richards is literally like, I'm literally standing right here. It's like,
What's with the fucking wings, man?
Yeah, I never understood those stupid
Ankle
wings.
wings. What?
Leslie, who do you think is the worst superhero?
So I also went in a different direction from either of you.
Ooh.
And I went with the Deep from The Boys.
no love for the aquatic heroes.
he actually sees himself as a hero, but sexual predator, absolutely no moral compass of his own, and he's completely inept. Like, horribly
he's the
inept.
worst
Everything
kind.
he tries
Stupid
to
and
do, it goes wrong. He's the worst.
What's up with that Fresca?
I love how I read worse and I was like, okay, who's just bad at being a superhero? You two are like, this dude is the worst. All right.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
you literally just have the words "worst superhero" up there. It leaves it open for interpretation.
Yeah.
Open to interpretation. I thought they were gonna do something redemptive with the Deep in season. It looks like they kind of started to, but to fake you out.
I think once A-Train basically took what was his, then he was just like, you know what, screw this. It's like he was probably being disingenuous about it the whole time anyway.
Right. He just wants to get back into the set.
Yeah.
And that's his only goal.
Yeah.
For reasons unknown, because it's not like they're a happy family.
They don't even
No.
respect him. Like,
No, not even a little. Yeah. Yeah. No.
I think that's its own interesting angle. Anyways, Brian, bring us home with Jason Momoa's Aquaman, please.
Right. I can't speak to that because I still haven't watched the movie, even though I did see Justice League, and yeah, I mean he's up there. But briny heroes, we're done with them right now. There was a period in about 1990, I want to say 3 or 4, where like every single Marvel annual released that year introduced, like the mandate was they had to introduce a new character.
oh yeah, yeah.
And almost any single one of those characters would qualify for this. I honestly think the only character that made it out of that era, there might have been 2. I think Rage might have come out that summer, like the new Warriors character might have come out of that. But Executioner from the X-Men also came out of it. The guy who worked in the FBI that just amassed all of this like X-Men villain tech.
Yep.
and became like a mutant assassin. They're the only two that I think have shown up in later years. But
Maybe it was Adam X the
but-
Extreme. Was he part of?
Adam X the Extreme, I believe he did come out of that. I think he was the X Force.
He was like the Mountain
entrance.
Dew of like X-Men characters.
Yeah,
What kind
we got
of
a code red
comparison?
here. Oh my God, yeah, Adam X the Extreme is pretty fucking terrible. But one of the stupidest ones that came out of it was this guy battling Bantam.
Nope.
Oh,
no
Who was
idea.
just a boxer. He was just a boxer, but he had boxing gloves on all the fucking time, which makes me think that it would be hard for him to leave the house to fight crime, right? Because he's just like trying to get the door open with his gloves, and like it was just not practical at all. But it's just like two big boxing gloves on his hand at all times.
Oh God.
But the more recognizable, I guess, sort of character I wanted to bring up instead was Maggot from the X-Men, who debuted
Oh.
later in the decade
Yeah.
and is more or less, I think, universally hailed as the worst X-Men character in history. He's
And that's
so
with
bad.
a group of people who has a guy called Gold Balls.
I was literally about to say that.
This is Maggot is so bad that Joe Madureira was one half of the team that created Maggot. Like he designed Maggot, Joe Mad did, and he still sucks. But Maggot's deal is he's this like South African guy who has two slugs that basically he shares a telepathic bond with, and they eat and power him.
They were like
it is
his,
extraordinarily stupid.
they were his
And
stomach,
he's so
basically.
bad. He's so bad that I don't think Dawn of X has touched him.
Nope, haven't
No,
seen him.
like-
I don't think
recall.
he's turned up even in the background. Like an island where their whole mandate is to resurrect all the dead mutants
Not him.
has not resurrected Maggot.
I feel like fuck, who was doing the main penciling on the X-Men?
Lionel Yu.
Yeah. I feel like you would have been like, I'm gonna throw this in the background just for fun, and the Marvel editing staff was like, no, the fuck you won't.
They brought,
Well,
yeah.
Yu does throw things in the background. Like every single like big multi-character splash he ever draws has Howard the Duck in it.
I was like,
Oh,
Like
Nice.
if you look, it's like playing Where's Waldo, but like in Secret Invasion, the last issue of Secret Invasion, there's the big hero attack,
Yeah.
and Howard the Duck's just fucking there.
they brought like that was crazy. Like it's like they brought back Mondo and wouldn't touch Maggot.
Yep.
Like
Mm-hmm.
They brought back Skin, man.
Oh,
Whose
my
superpower
God.
was having too much skin. Like all the skin that didn't exist on Rob Liefeld drawings found their way to this one character.
We will not slander the name Rob Liefeld on this
we'll
podcast.
put respect
No,
on the
no,
man's
no, but-
name. Like,
Love him, love him.
All right, let's keep this moving. Good answers, everybody. Brad Ledbetter, a very nebulous question. One that I was like, I'm sure Brian's gonna have a field day with this question. What is the best thing on the internet?
oh boy.
Brian, kick us off, please.
Well, okay. On the one hand, I have yet to find any good thing on the internet. On the other hand, I mean, like what, this week? I mean, it changes. It's this moving target. You know, there's always like the best thing I've seen today. All right, so the best thing on the internet this week was not something public. It was an email that was received at our work, and because I got to tell this story real quick. So we had a client who had a document camera that was shipped to her during instruction that she needed to send back. Instruction ended probably 8 or 9 months ago, and she just reached out to us about it like 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh, I still have this camera. Can I send it back? We're like, yeah, we never thought we'd hear from you again. Sure, we'll get a new shipping label sent to you. We'll get the doc camera returned. Evidently, she sent a package back. It was received by our IT department this week, and they sent an email to our office manager that said, we received the package with the updated shipping label. Unfortunately, the package did not contain the document camera that we expected, but instead contained a bunch of Peloton exercise equipment.
What?
Do that.
I
Is it a Peloton camera? Did she swap?
not even like I don't even know what sort of equipment would fit in a It's a small camera. Anyway, that's the best thing that I saw on the internet this week. But some of my other just perennial favorites are, you can probably find most of these on YouTube now. The Fensler film G.I. Joe edits from like 25 years ago, where they took all of the lessons from the G.I. Joe cartoon and re-edited them to be about just batshit crazy stuff.
This bread that's sitting right here is because I ordered a pork chop sandwich earlier this week.
About 10 years or so ago, some guys in Europe re-edited a bunch of Next Generation episodes together, and the TNG edits that you can find on YouTube are just they were amazing, because the Next Generation, since the characters basically dress the same for 7 seasons, you can mix and match clips and scenes all over the place, and it turns Data into this petty, insane serial killer. like Riker is just a ball of like homoeroticism, sexuality, and hunger, like just actual physical. He eats all the time. Picard is petty as shit. Like, it's amazing what these guys did with it.
Nice.
Another thing I'll recommend on YouTube is this guy sat down and did basically like an audiobook narrative or a commentary track over the first Harry Potter movie, and it's called Wizard People, Dear Reader. And it's nuts. It is also nuts. Like, just 2 minutes in, the guy's voice, he's like, "Privet Drive," and he talks like that the entire time. And he calls, and Dumbledore is nearly dead Dumbledore all the time. Hagar the Horrible, Professor Hardcastle McCormick is what he calls McGonagall. It's so amazing.
All right.
Yeah. I would recommend those 3 things. I go back to all 3 of those periodically, and they just never disappoint.
I'll piggyback off of that. My answer is also Brad's answer, which encapsulates Brian's answer. We said it's YouTube. YouTube is the best thing on the internet. You can do anything. With YouTube, all things are possible, is the best way of putting it there. You can learn pretty much anything you need to learn. Me and a buddy of mine changed out an alternator on my car. YouTube. Anything you need to figure it out is there. It's educational. It's hilarious. It's a number of things. As long as you remember, don't read the comments, and you're good to go.
Right.
That's what turns
it's like the
YouTube
rules
into
for
worst
Gremlins.
thing. Yeah. Don't read the comments after 8 p.m. Yeah, my answer is plain and simple: YouTube. Jermon, what
Don't
about you,
feed the
sir?
trolls after
I
midnight.
mean, I'm gonna have to agree with that also, like, because that's where I spend the majority of my time now, on YouTube, going down that YouTube rabbit hole. But like, as far as like some of the content that I've been watching, I watch a lot of stuff from All Def Digital now. There's like this YouTube channel, like I guess it used to be run by Russell Simmons, but a lot of up and coming like black comedians are on there, and they have this one show on there I love called Black Blasphemy, where they'll have like a panel of different comedians on, and they'll pull up these statements that one of them said, something that like is like absolutely just completely blasphemous to the black community, and they have to guess which one said. Like, somebody literally said on there once, "I prefer Kraft macaroni and cheese to the baked stuff," or whatever.
Oh no!
Yeah, somebody on there said like Harlem Nights wasn't that funny. Like, I was just like, yeah,
What?
It is insane.
Okay, I'm going to check this out. I don't think I have anything in specific for YouTube that I would recommend. I just watch a lot of stuff about film and comics. Comics Explained. There you go. There's
That's good
there's a
too.
joint for
Them
you.
and Comic Historian, I think they do a similar thing.
Yeah, and they cross their streams from time to time. Leslie, what is the best thing on the internet?
All of my lovely, wonderful friends.
Oh, that sappy shit out of here.
No, I mean that really is the the best thing about the internet for me is all of my all of my pocket friends. You know, anybody I could probably find someone at any point in time to talk to if I needed to. Just out of the friends that I've made on Facebook and such. Twitter. Mark Hamill's Twitter is hilarious.
But Twitter's been actually really good the last like few months.
Man, like the last couple, I was like, how is this app free, man? Because I've been in tears over the stuff I've seen on Twitter.
After that fight, the Tyson fight last week, oh my God.
Yeah, when it comes to social media, I like Facebook because that's where a lot of my friends are, but Twitter is where I go to get other views. That's where I'm following journalists, so I can get news as it happens and different viewpoints of that news. Follow a lot of feminists and a lot of random pop culture people because you need to laugh. And it's all about how you curate who you follow. I've had a lot of people like, oh, it's just a dumpster fire. It's like, well, then you're clearly following the wrong people.
Yeah, or the people that you are following the wrong people. And in that case, unfollow that person you're following.
I do love seeing a good shitty hot take from time to time though. Oh my,
so many.
Oh man.
Yeah, the fact that comic book movie cringe is a Twitter account that just retweets people's horrible comic book movie takes. Like you'll just be reading about like Spider-Man 2, great movie, right? Everybody loves it. And then you'll see one person that just says something stupid like, it's the worst Spider movie. And then the person right underneath that will just immediately at CBM cringe and just snitch them, right? That's how the whole account operates. They just wait for people to snitch on people.
That's awesome.
And then they go retweet. That and also Room Raider, which I've been loving more and more since these COVID times. People have been working from home. Obviously, news anchors and whatnot, or corresponders or people who are experts that they're interviewing, whatever, are streaming in from their home, and then there's an account specifically judging them on the background and the room setup that they are in. It's wonderful. It's judgmental. It's petty as fuck, and the fact that people with thousands and thousands and millions of listeners are constantly improving their background to get a better score from this random Twitter account, to me, incredibly hilarious. Okay. That's a very nebulous question that could have gone a number of ways.
Oh, yeah. I didn't talk about the real stuff that I like on Paprika After Dark material there.
Paprika After Dark. Paprika Rule 43. All right, then. So let's move into some of the questions that we had, because we each submitted a question, which is something that we don't normally do on this show. And I'll kick it off with my question. What's a show, movie, or book you didn't like at first, but revisited and ended up loving? Brian, what do you have for this, sir?
And this was hard for me to come up with because, like, normally if I just don't like something, I just leave it and I never come back to it. But I would say that Rick and Morty did not bowl me over when I watched the first episode. I watched the first episode of Rick and Morty. I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. I avoided that show for a long time because I was like, I know what this is going to be. I've watched enough Adult Swim to know that this is going to just be like cynicism on overdrive, played for laughs. It's going to just be a lot of like, and it is to an extent, but Rick is also not portrayed as a heroic character, really. He's right. If you're actually paying attention, he's a terrible human being.
Yeah.
And then I came back to it probably 5 or 6 months later and watched the second episode, which I think is the one where the dog gains sentience. And
yes, it is.
That was it. Like that, I was like, okay, I am 100% in on this show now. And I never looked back from it.
Yeah, this
for me.
I was gonna say this. This last season that is dropped was just brilliance. Like,
For me, it was the third episode that got me because I think it's the third episode, the Mr. Meeks episode.
Oh yeah,
Oh, the Meeseeks. Yeah.
Mr. Meeseeks, where this magical well, not magic, it's all science. This scientifical invention of I'm here to assist you in whatever way I can, and when I'm done assisting you and however I need to assist you, then my job is done. I disappear forever. And they all come up with these. The whole family, who shouldn't be doing this in the first place, all come up with these absolutely ridiculous things that a simple assistant program shouldn't help with, but they knock it out real quick. And then the dad should be the easiest. I just want a good golf swing, and he is so horrible at it that Meeseeks makes another Meeseeks to help him out,
Oh.
and then another Meeseeks, and then another Meeseeks. And then it spirals down to this existential dread of we just want to do our job so we can go.
Yeah.
And the fact that they turn hostile and they're ready to start killing people because they got so overboard with it is a brilliant setup. And you start feeling bad for these dudes. They are legitimately distressed. We can't fulfill our destiny in life. It's brilliant. What about you, Leslie?
So I had a couple. The first that came to mind was The Office. I worked at an office job, and was miserable. And my friends were like, "No, it's awesome. You got to watch it." And I'm going, "Why do I watched the first episode. I'm like, why do I want to watch a bunch of miserable people working a miserable job when I'm already a miserable person working a miserable job? Why would I do that to myself?" So I was adamantly against it. And then my boyfriend at the time, he started watching it, and I would, grumble on the couch, but be doing something else. So I didn't really, I didn't make a big fuss about it, and eventually got sucked in and went back and started and watched it from the beginning on my own. And now I love it. It's hilarious. The first season is still pretty rough, but it's also very short. And
that's something that happens a lot with TV shows, is that it takes a while to find their footing. There's not many shows that come out of the gate confident in who they are. It's like a show thinks it knows what it wants to be, and then as characters grow and develop, they realize, oh wait, actually the heart of this show isn't Jeff Winger, it's Troy and Abed, and then the show takes off, right?
Yeah. A little community reference there. I see you.
Yeah.
All right, good call there, Leslie. I just never could get into that show. Never could.
It took me to season 2. The season 1 was okay, kind of rough, but season 2 they really hit their stride. Yeah.
Well, right on. What about you there, Mr. Jackson?
This was, like Brian said, this was a very hard question. It's probably the hardest of the questions we've gotten this round.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was totally racking my brain because I was like, have I even really tried to revisit something that I didn't care for initially? But I did. It finally just hit me. I was just a couple days ago. I was like, next Friday. I did not initially. I did not like that movie at all because I was, first off, I was like, this sequel doesn't even need to be made. The original was a classic. Then you're going in, and it's like, oh wait, so Chris Tucker's not back or whatever. They got all these jokes and unnecessary stuff that didn't necessarily land. And it just felt like at the time, you know what? Nah, I'm good. But then going back, and especially after hearing a lot of those quotables over and over again, it definitely grew on me.
Yeah, and it's crazy because now we're at a time where people love Day more than they love Smokey.
Yeah,
which it seems like black blasphemy to me, but there's people who it's what made Mike Epps. It's what gave us,
See, because
that whole dude.
I like that was the thing because after the trilogy came out, I liked the third one better than the second one just because of that Cat Williams element.
Yes, and that's what brought us Cat Williams to the forefront back when he had no teeth in his mouth.
Yeah, but then going back, especially seeing Clifton Powell as on Pinky, I was like, oh man, this is gold right here.
It's good shit. There's good shit in there. All right, and for me, man, it's Lost. Strangely enough.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I did not like Lost the first 3 times I tried it.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this one more try. And it was usually episode 3, 4 where I petered out. And I don't know. In that last go round, man, it just hit me. It's the Brian. Is it episode 2 or 3 where it ends with Charlie asking, "Where are we?"
It's the end of the second episode. It's like the end of the second hour because I think it first premiered. It was like a 2-hour
A
block.
2-part joint.
Those 2 episodes aired back to back. But yeah, the "You guys, where are we?" ends. That's right after they hear the radio signal.
Yeah.
Rousseau's radio signal.
Yeah, so I don't know, but watching that like third or fourth time, I was like, hold on, where the fuck are they? And then I was sucked right in. And as many of you listening know, Lost went on to become my favorite show that's ever been broadcasted out into the airwaves. But there's the lesson in this is, don't dismiss it out hand. Go back and give it another try and see if you like it. This has been the year for trying out new things anyways. And hopefully you have. Let's roll.
Well, we can talk more about that with regards to Germain's after hours proclivities.
Whole nother show.
That is not his blind spot show.
Paprika up all night. We'll be back after this.
All right then, Mr. Jackson. He asked, what's the best comeuppance in movies? The moment where the villain finally gets what's coming to him. Leslie, what is the best comeuppance in movies to you?
So I don't know if it's specifically the best, but it was so unexpected and it felt so good. And it was also the first thing I thought of. The Departed, when Mark Wahlberg shows up at the end, shuffling in his bag-covered feet, and just, bam, Matt Damon's done. Fucking love it. Love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's great. And like, he's been gone from the story for so long. He's gone for like 30, 45 minutes by that point. And you just forget that he's even thinking. You have all these back-to-back murders, and he's not even a thing in your mind. Oop. And then he just pops up, and you're like, "Oh shit! What's Wahlberg doing?" Oh, yep. Very good point. Good call.
Because you just came off watching The Departed, because you're just coming off of that bummer, seeing Leo's character get killed.
Seeing Leo get
and Matt Damon basically getting away with it.
Exactly, and it's like, well, no, how is it? Damn, and so you're very low, and then that happens. It's like, fuck yeah.
Is it very much a fuck yeah moment?
Yes.
My fuck yeah moment is it's Bastards. Man, it's Londa getting the Nazi symbol carved into his forehead at the end. And up until that point, I know a lot of critics have debated the meaning of that last line as Brad Pitt or as
Tarantino's it's a self-commentary, right?
Yeah, it's a self-commentary. I forgot who that is.
Was it Aldo Raines?
Yeah, it's not Aldo Raines. It's the other bastard that's alive with him. B.J. Novak.
Yeah.
Who says this might be your... Or is it Aldo Raines that says this might be my best...
I think it's Aldo. This might be my best work.
Yeah, this might be my best work yet. Yeah, and I think up until that point, and I still kind of think that's Quentin Tarantino's best work yet. But yeah, seeing that happen, because no one's been scalped in an hour and a half at this point. You've forgotten that they were carving swastikas in people's foreheads at one point in this movie. And then that happens, and you're like, oh, especially when you think Hans Landa's going to get away with it being all slimy and shit. And he is increasingly clever. But nope, he still gets his. It's lovely to see.
My only gripe is, I felt he deserved more than that. That wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough for you, huh? All right, then. That's what's up. And then the brief cut back to the other Nazi that was with them.
Yeah. Hitler.
Herman.
Hitler, yeah. That was perfectly deserved. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What Hitler got was perfectly deserved. All right, then, Brian, what's the best comeuppance in movies?
Well, I had a couple here, and I realized that either way I go, it just involves somebody melting. But I'm gonna go with the Wicked Witch of the West.
Okay.
The Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
I mean, that bitch talks a big game for somebody who's older. Okay.
You're not wrong.
Like seriously. she's just terrorizing everybody, human, animal, munchkin alike. And then all it takes is a bucket of fucking water. Like, we could have done this at any fucking time.
Right?
And it's so slow. I love how slow it is. It's like, it hurts.
I love you said the Wicked Witch in Wizard of Oz, as if you didn't know it was in Wizard of Oz.
Well, I could have said, it could have been like, because in Wicked, like, it muddies the waters a bit. So,
all right, fair enough.
Were there any bodies of water in Oz at all?
Not that, I mean, I think maybe in Return to Oz there were some bodies of water, but that movie's a little different.
Yeah,
HBO Max people, it's on there.
Oh, it's
is.
It
Yeah,
is.
it is. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to watch it.
it's in my to watch list.
Yeah, buckle up, guys.
Yeah, buckle up for some Return to Oz. Wild shit.
Man, that was
messed up stuff.
I loved that movie when I was younger. And the people at the video rental store, because yes, I am that old, had not heard of it and always looked at me like I was crazy when I'd ask for it.
I mean, if they had known of it, they would still look at you like you were crazy.
Probably
It explains
yes.
so much.
I'm sure Vizard has it.
I was over at Vizard about a week and a half ago. I got some weird shit in that store.
Yeah, they do. I ran into Chris Baker there once. We were doing a screen. They were doing a screen of Dolomite, the original or whatever.
A word.
Yeah.
Huh. Man, I missed out on every one of those Vizard screenings.
Oh,
I always
man.
had some podcast shit to do.
They've been doing some outdoors ones lately. Like, I'm assuming they're not doing any now that it's colder, but they had done a few before it got cooler.
Damn it. All right. I had to keep Vizard on my radar for 2021 now. And you, Mr. Jackson, take us home. What is the best comeuppance in movies?
I had to go the Tarantino route also, and I was gonna say Steven and Django Unchained. That dude, man, it was like the entire there were some pretty despicable characters in that movie, but like Steven, like he was like the real mastermind of the whole thing. It seemed like, and he needed to go somehow, some way. He had to suffer. But seeing him get kneecapped or whatever, and then like just left to explode in a dynamite explosion, it's just like, and he was like defiant the whole way through. But
that's right, kneecap land on the ground, still talking shit.
Yeah, at least most of the other ones, most of the other folks in Candyland got shot and killed right then and there. But no, he had to suffer, man. He had to.
Yeah. I think as far as Samuel L. Jackson, Tarantino performances, like obviously Jules is at the top, but Steven is pretty close to the top too, because he really, really nailed that.
He was a bastard. Oh my God, he was such a bastard.
Good call, sir. Good call. All right then, Brian, with our penultimate question, sir. Mr. Martin, name an actor or actress who should have won an Oscar by now but hasn't, and name what movie he or she should have won first. I'll kick this bad boy off. For me, it's Amy Adams. She is 0-5.
She didn't win?
She has never won.
Oh, damn.
Yes, she is 0-5 in Oscars. For a while, it was like, we got to get Leo, we got to get Amy Adams, and we got to get Deakins. Leo and Deakins have their Oscar now, and Hillbilly Elegy will not be getting Amy Adams any Oscars this season.
I don't
know. It could be one of those sympathy votes where it's like, give it to her. We get
some random movie that like.
Right.
I could have sworn she had won for The Fighter, but I was like, damn, because everybody was getting nominated for that.
Yeah, but no, she is 0-5.
I know Christian Bale won for that, and then I think Melissa Leo may have gotten one for that, but.
Yeah, no love for her. I think the movie that she should have won it for is definitely Arrival. So when people when people say, man, so and so should have won the Oscar, before I ever make that statement for whatever it is I'm talking about, I always go and look to see who was nominated for that year for whatever they were talking about. And so I went back and I looked, and I don't have the list with me, But Amy Adams should have fucking won that year for Arrival. But yeah, for me, it's also dependent on who else was nominated.
Right.
Some are just obvious, like, okay, yeah, that person obviously should have won. But yeah, in this case, Amy Adams for Arrival. Leslie, what do you have?
I went with Sally Hawkins for The Shape of Water.
Fish bucket.
I thought she did an amazing job. And I did the same thing. I looked at who won, who was nominated, and it was Frances McDormand for Three Billboards Outside. I mean, and to me, like, that was good, but it wasn't as amazing.
Okay. Right on. I very much dug Sally Hawkins in that movie. Damn good movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, I could definitely see that.
Well, and just how much she portrayed with her character being mute, you know, that we are a very
audio sensory people.
Yes, thank you. I was trying to figure out exactly how to word that. But yeah, it's audio and visual, and all she has is the visual to work with. So yeah, I thought she just did an amazing job.
She's like, I'm trying to get my Daniel Day-Lewis on and get me an Oscar. This is gonna be my left foot that gets me the Oscar. Jermon, what do you have there?
I went with.
Which Samuel L. Jackson role are you putting up?
See, that would have been the easy one there, because I would have, if I was going to choose him, I would have gone with Django Unchained. I think there could have been a case that granted Christoph Waltz won the supporting actor for that, but yeah, you could have easily made a case for Leo or Sam for that for the supporting category, but I decided to go with Lawrence Fishburne. I love, like, he was nominated for What's Love Got to Do with It, which was obviously a big one. I really think he should have gotten it for Boys in the Hood.
Mm-hmm.
His portrayal of Furious Styles.
Yeah, he's just not in the movie enough.
Yeah, it's like, well, and that's the thing, because like, you think of like Anthony Hopkins was barely in Silence of the Lambs and won. What? Alan Arkin was barely in Little Miss Sunshine and stole that Oscar from Eddie Murphy.
Stole it.
But yeah, he had
about that shit.
Yeah, for that limited time that he was in Boys in the Hood, he had such a presence in there because he was so much that voice of reason in that movie, where all these young all the young folks were just being knuckleheads, and he was seeing all the mistakes that he probably made back in the days, and he was like, he just commanded respect in that role.
Yeah, I like how it goes from just a dude on the block to, by the time you get to the end of that movie, he's like, he owns his own like tax business. I
think was that or real estate or something like that,
or something like that. Yeah. Like he had his own like come up in the background of this entire movie as well.
Because he had that whole spiel where he was telling his son and his friends, like, you don't have to live life, and you can make something of yourself with something like this.
Yeah. Good call, sir. Good call. And Brian, as it is your question, you are last, sir.
This was another one. Like after I asked it, I was like, this was harder than I thought it was going to be, because my immediate thought was like, well, I don't even know what I was thinking, but because I just started thinking of like performers that I really, really like, or performances that I really, really liked, and then I was like, did they win? Did they not win? I don't think they won. And the one I settled on was from one of my favorite movies ever, The Night of the Hunter, which came out in 1955, and starred Robert Mitchum as basically a serial killing preacher who traveled from town to town preying on women, essentially.
Okay.
And pun intended.
He's arrested.
Was he EY or AY on women?
Both. He said he was doing God's work. And this one woman's two kids know where a substantial sum of money is buried, and he's murdered their mom and is trying to chase them downriver to capture them and find this money, right? And Robert Mitchum is just unbelievable in it. and he never won an Oscar for anything. He wasn't even nominated that year for the 1955 movies, but Ernest Borgnine won that year. For a movie called Marty, and you gotta love Ernest Borgnine. But Robert Mitchum is, if I were to list like my 10 favorite movie villains of all time, his character in that movie would be in 5th or 4th place.
Okay.
Unbelievable. So,
all right. Oh, there you go. There's something to check out, Bob Briggins. You got to go back to the 50s for that shit. 1950 what? You say 1950 what, Brian?
1955.
All right, look, so you can go watch this movie, and then you can go to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance.
Yeah,
and
Fish Under the Sea dance.
And you're all good to go. All right, then let's.
And then go cast your ballot for whoever
Mayor.
who was running for mayor in 55.
Was it Goldie Hawn? Goldie?
No, Goldie Wilson was in 85.
Will
Okay.
become mayor, but I
Yeah.
can't remember who was voting for or who was running for it at the time.
Listen to some
Mayor!
listen to some plagiarized Chuck Berry.
And not figure out how to get the top of your Coke off until somebody teaches you how to do it. We're gonna end this bad boy with we have one. Can I?
No,
Get my
because you're
sentence out,
ignoring my
please?
question.
What's your question? Oh, wait,
No, I mean
did we
my
not do yours?
question. No,
Yeah, we did.
trying to.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't.
Yeah,
Scroll
we technically
down
have
far
2
enough.
questions left, or we have like
17.
15, depending on how you want to break it.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Leslie. I didn't scroll down far enough. She said, "All things must come to an end, and some manage better than others." Well, you're not wrong there. What show had the best series finale and the worst? And because I never scrolled down on this, I forgot this question. So we're going to kick it off with you, Sherman, while I get my answer figured out.
He even asked me if I had submitted a question. I was like, yeah, this one. Oh, yeah, okay.
Was he eating those brats? Because I mean, he was a little distracted when this thing started.
Oh boy. Yeah, but I would have to say easily probably one of the best finales was Breaking Bad, like hands down.
Yeah.
That was just, it was the perfect show. I mean, it had the perfect ending. Like, but you knew, like, right off the bat, like going into season 5, you were like, Walter White has to go. He cannot survive this. And seeing him go out the way he did, like, because at the end of the day, the show was basically about that relationship between him and Jesse. And to have it end with him, using his smarts and ingenuity to essentially save Jesse and kind of sort of, I guess, redeem himself. I wouldn't say he 100% redeemed himself, but
No, when you're selling toxins to the people for as long as they were, there is no redeeming that character.
I'd say it was
he did something
more.
good on the way out.
I was going to say it's
Okay.
more going out on his own terms
Yeah.
than redeeming himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did. Yeah. He made something right that he did wrong. Like, with Jesse getting captured and all that stuff. He did make that right. That was about it. But
Okay. All right. Right on. And what about you, Brian?
oh yeah, the worst also.
Oh yeah, Jermon's
Oh,
worst.
okay, it was the worst,
We got to get
Jermon.
Jermon's worst in there.
I would have to say, what was it? Oh, How I Met Your Mother. That was just. Now, first off, right off the bat, I was like, watching some of the reruns, I was like, this show is going on way longer than it should have. To the point where because going in, I was like, this is actually a great premise for a show, but it just got long in the tooth. But the way they ended it was just like, what was the point? What was the point?
Exactly.
Good call. Very good call, sir. Yeah, that's the spoilers. That's the one that I had in mind too.
Me too.
Oh, really?
Man, well, Jesus, that's almost unanimous. All right, then. Brian, what do you have as your best and worst TV finales?
I'm going to say best. Now, I've never watched this show, as listeners will know, but I'm just going to say the best was Game of Thrones, just to piss everybody off. And because I think I've talked repeatedly on various Paprika shows about what I consider to be the best series finale of all time, and it is Star Trek: The Next Generation's All Good Things.
All good.
I think
things.
is my favorite final episode of anything ever.
Okay.
So I'm going to stick with my Game of Thrones. Whatever that episode was called, that's my favorite. And the worst finale of all time that I have watched, because a lot of these shows I bailed on, like I bailed on Dexter, How I Met Your Mother. I did not watch the finale, things like that. But one that I did see, although not when it originally aired, this was sometime later, was the finale to Star Trek Enterprise. These Are the Voyages, which basically is a coda for the series, played out as a holodeck simulation that Riker and Troy are watching within the context of
TNG.
Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
So we're meant to believe that Riker, in the middle of like season 6 of The Next Generation,
Gained
got
30
really
pounds.
fat. He like Rob McElhenney. It's Always Sunny, like that season where Fat Mac was a thing. Like there was a fat Riker period for like a week. It was just like, I get what they were trying to do with it. I think Ronald Moore and Brandon Braga, or whoever wrote that episode, I see what they were trying to do with it and appease Star Trek fans. But I really look at that episode and think, this was the nail in the coffin. This was it. This was you guys saying like, and done. Fill it with dirt, guys. You know, that was awful. I also want to give a really special shout out to the finale of the most recent season, the current final episode of The X-Files, which was horseshit, and the series finale of Alf, which I am still waiting for a resolution to.
Didn't they do a TV movie?
There was a TV movie that didn't resolve it. Like, I mean, it resolved it to an extent. But it was not like the family he lived with were just gone. They were in like witness protection. We never saw them again.
How did that
Weird
not get rebooted?
Let's not.
They've got to get the same Alf. Like Alf has to be the same. Like everything else is updated, but it's just Alf.
That
Just eating cats.
that would kill on Adult Swim.
Hey, you're not wrong. You're not right. Kill with all stoners.
Just
is what
ramp-
that
There's not enough weed in the house for that.
does.
Just ramp
Feed
it
the
up,
Martin household.
make it more adult themed.
You might be onto something. Mine, my first thought was also All Good Things, but I figured that might be Brian's. So I'm going to go ahead and say the finale of BoJack Horseman. 6 seasons, I do believe, is what BoJack is, of what we thought was just going to be a silly nonsense show where they kind of poke fun at Hollywood and Hollywood actors, and ended up being a character who goes on a fucking existential crisis, and how he grows, how he changes, how all of the surrounding and background characters also have massive journeys and how they grow and change. And the TV ending would be all the horrible shit that BoJack did to and with people over the years. He realizes what a shitty person he's become. He changes for the better. The end. No, he ends up held accountable for all of his actions, goes to jail, and I'm like, yes, this is what should happen to this character. Like, yeah, he's learned from his mistakes, and he's a better person at the end of it, but he still did that shit, and he still needs to reap the the repercussions of what it is he did in all those past seasons and all the shit that he did. That's what I love about this show. It wasn't afraid to go there and do those things. They let him out of jail for the final episode, which is what that whole thing is framed as, that episode. And then he goes right back in. That's how it ends. And then, yeah, where's How I Met Your Mother? Didn't bother to watch it. I just heard about it, and knowing the concept, I was like, what? This? Garbage. Absolute garbage. Terrible idea. Leslie.
So for my favorite series finale, I went with BBC's Merlin. It is one of my favorite shows anyway. But the finale, it's two-part finale, 2 hours. And it closes everything up. It's funny, it's emotional, you got some action, and it's fucking heartbreaking, man. it's just gets me.
You said funny and emotional. It's got some I was like, is she gonna say it's got some ass? 'Cause I was gonna be like, yo, this show's about to be wild. Put Merle at the top of the list.
No ass. I'm sorry.
Oh,
We,
okay.
we might get us a triple flop in there.
Worst. So also How I Met Your Mother, because without going too much into it, the whole concept of the last season is building up to this one big thing, right? It's just a few days showing everyone leading up to this one big thing. And then they just rendered it moot. They dropped a lot of the character growth by turning it around and going like, nah, this doesn't matter now. You know, you lost character growth. And it failed to adjust to what the show became, which is something you said earlier.
Right. That's the problem, right? Like if you have your ending already planned in season 1 when the show hasn't gotten off the ground yet, and most shows haven't figured out what they want to be, and then you allow for all that growth, but you're still shoehorned into this like original ending.
It was no good.
Don't the kids in the show think it's bullshit?
I think they did because
in the show they're happy. They're like, oh, well, we know that this is spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched. Turn it off now, or
don't you turn off this podcast.
Turn the volume down for a few seconds. You know, a lot of people had already guessed that the mother was going to actually be dead. That was fine. That I can understand. But the kids are like, well, you weren't really telling us about Mom. You want to go marry Aunt Robin. You should go for it, Dad. And it's like, really? Really?
So the show should be How I Met Your Mother-in-Law or your stepmother.
Yes. Because it's all about it, and they make it clear throughout the show that they are not good for each other. They want completely different things. They are not a good couple. And so they didn't let the characters finish where they had already gone, if that makes sense.
Now, was it like a case of we are not good for each other right now, but maybe sometime down the road? They just always thought they weren't good for each other?
They dated a few times, but like she wanted to be world traveling journalist. He wanted to be at home with kids.
Ah, okay.
And he has kids, clearly. And she's still a world traveling journalist.
Oh, it's Aunt Robin that we never see.
Yeah, pretty much. It just, yeah, it pissed me off. Other bad series endings I've heard of: Roseanne, Seinfeld. Seinfeld I actually watched. I wasn't at,
I like Seinfeld.
I loved the Seinfeld ending.
So
really?
Look, I'm a big fan of the courtroom trial finale where like the characters are put to task for their crimes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's BoJack. Yeah.
It's like
exactly.
It was a very brilliant way of doing a clip show.
And so what I heard, I watched it. I hadn't been. Yeah, I liked Seinfeld, but I didn't catch it every week. So I saw the finale, and it was just kind of like, okay, I wasn't super invested, but everyone I knew hated it.
Man, yeah, it's another one of those. If you're shitty, and those 4 are pretty shitty to people over the years, it's gonna come back and bite you in the ass.
Yep.
That's one of the few episodes. Like I've only seen maybe 3 or 4 episodes of Seinfeld, and that is definitely one of them.
Okay, right on.
I think it was the Soup Nazi episode, which is like hilarious. And I recall that one where they were in the parking lot trying to find their car or whatever.
That parking garage. That's a classic. Yeah. That's good writing. All right, before we get into the last question, are there any phantom questions out there that I might not know about or have forgotten about?
Let's see here. I think everybody.
Have all bases been covered?
Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Wait, okay. No, you skipped another one.
Which
one? I have one left in the pocket.
No, you skipped another one.
What? Oh, Swint.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Duquan-
Good thing you
Duquan Grady
asked.
Swint. Yeah, I'm glad I've asked.
So he came in, is like on your left.
Duquan Grady Sam Wilson Swint. He says, and I quote, during the lifetime of Paprika, what is something that you experienced from the podcast/Facebook group that you will carry with you after things have wrapped up? Brian, is there any part of this that you'll carry with you?
The memories. I know I won't. I'd say the things that I will remember most fondly are the drafts. The drafts are always a lot of fun. I think as far as the Facebook group goes, wrestling over who posts about dead people the fastest, and then the never-ending PSAs about posting shit from We Got This Covered.
Oh, God.
Those are the things I will take with me, because that's why, like, the We Got This Covered thing, I was like, see, this is why this group is good.
Oh yeah, I think I saw one recently where somebody reposted from We Got This Covered, and like it was like immediate, just jump right on. It's like we don't. It's like your Charles. Like,
We don't do that here. I feel like when I shuffle off this mortal coil, and everyone's on whatever social media is gonna be like, "Hey, the dude who used to host that one show back in the days, he's dead." And some of my friends are gonna be like, "Did We Got This Covered say that, or is this a legitimate source?" Because if We Got This Covered reports me dead, I'm probably just like watching a movie, a really long movie.
We're gonna need a second opinion.
Yeah, we're gonna need a second. I need Variety to report my death.
I don't even trust them telling me what new movies are going to be on Netflix next month.
The Jamal Jackson show. What? I didn't know this was a thing. What about you, Jermon? Is there anything that you will carry with you after all this has wrapped up?
I think I touched on it last episode, but you guys, man, and just basically, all the great times and memories that we've had. I'm saying this like we're never going to see each other again, but
Soup Day is around the corner.
Right.
yeah,
True.
like
True.
that, and this, like that Facebook group, man. This is like something I've been looking for a long time. It's just like a great community, and it's rare nowadays, especially in pop culture, and in our fandoms, that to find a group of people that are cordial, that are friendly, that there's like little to no toxicity coming out of anyone, and that's probably a tribute to the administrators too, trying to filter that shit out.
Yeah, they do a good job. They do a great job. That's the small council is generally on top of the game, and they're good with communicating with each other. Or if they're unsure, they're like, "Hey, what do you think we should do about this?" And then it turns into a TNG situation where we all sit down in the radio room and we get this figured out.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good group. Leslie, what about you?
Well, the thing that I am taking with me is the knowledge that Animaniacs is greater than Gargoyles, and if you like Gargoyles most, you're wrong.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
one of those two shows just got rebooted. Guess which one didn't?
One of them was perfect and didn't need it.
One of them has remained relevant and came back.
Although
Who
I will
cares
say,
about
I
relevance?
do believe Jordan Peele is attempting to get Gargoyles rebooted, which if it happens, I'm going to be the happiest man on earth. But right now, my Animaniacs are on. And I am a very happy man about it. That first episode filled me with warmth and light and heartness and rainbows. I'll carry a couple things with me, mostly in the realm of speaking, as a matter of fact. I've become a better orator than I was when I started doing this show. When I got out of the military, it was right when I started the first season of Paprika. I think I might have been in like episode 14 of, what are we on, 200 and something now? So it was very new when I had to get separated from the military. That means new job. That means job interviews. That means Jermon clearing his nose into the camera, into the microphone for us all to hear. Uh, uh, and interviews didn't go well for a little while until at one point I was just like, just treat it like it was a podcast interview. And then that made me much more relaxed, much more confident. And that's when the phone calls started coming back in. And also, former Paprika host Eric Elizondo has also said that the show made him a better orator as well and more comfortable in his own skin with speaking. So it has done that great favor for me. I don't think too many people were listening, but I was still speaking. And also on that same vein, the ability to cat wrangle has gotten much better as well. Being a guest being a guest at conventions is always a fun thing to do. You get there in the panel, you talk your shit or whatever, you charm them, and then you get off of there. And whenever someone's like, "Hey, you want to be on a panel? You want to go do this thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So long as I am not the moderator, I'm cool. I'd never want to moderate shit because that's just the most boring, worst job there is to me. You don't get to have fun moderating. The guests get to have all the fun. And I'd rather be a guest. Someone asked me to be a moderator on a panel this year, which, didn't end up happening. But I was like, yeah, as long as I'm not a moderator. And they're like, well, we want you to moderate. And I was like, maybe you didn't hear the part where I said I don't want to be a moderator. And they're like, if you have multiple people on your podcast, what do you think you're doing the whole time? You're moderating panels. And I was like, holy shit, they're right. So yeah, it's just confidence, communicative skills. Those are the things actually that I will take. I figured the group was always going to be good. There's good people in the group. You get good people together, you don't get much drama. So I never had much of a worry on that. I'm just glad people enjoyed it. And I'm glad that people are entertained by it. I've had people who messaged me and said, yeah, hey, I've been having a rough time, or this is a rough year. I've had people who messaged me there. It's like, I've been suicidal. And one of the things that helped get me through was Paprika. So, for that specific message alone, it's all been worth it, So that's what I'll take from it. I will take all of your good experiences from it is the best way for me to put it. And we will end this. I think Shannon, constant contributor for Choose Our Own Adventure, has a great idea. And I think probably the best possible way we can end it with the Bernard Pivot questionnaire that is at the end of all of the James Lipton Inside the Actor Studio shows. Rest in peace to that great man. He asks all of his guests these 10 questions. Germán.
Yes.
We will start with you. Are you ready, sir?
Let's do this.
Let us do this. The Bernard Pivot questionnaire. 10 questions. Question 1. What is your favorite word?
I'd probably say chocolate.
Chocolate. That's not a bad idea,
No,
sir.
Not what's your favorite thing to eat.
Well, you're in for a surprise when you get to my favorite word.
Mine too.
Gervon, what is your least favorite word?
Can't.
Oh, very nice. Very nicely done. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
I would say, well, me currently doing what I do for a living, I would say just seeing people innovation, basically seeing in new ways to do things, especially with me with food. It inspires me to see somebody trying to do something new with something, or trying to, make something new out of something.
Okay. All right. Right on. What turns you off?
What turns me off? Willful ignorance. There is, there's a wealth of knowledge out there. Like, there's literally an entire internet where if you want to know something, you can know it. And to choose not to, to not want to know something, I'm like, there's no reason for me. There's no reason whatsoever to be stupid.
Oh, well done. What is your favorite curse word?
Well, as everybody knows, one of my favorite actors. One of my favorites has got to be motherfucker. You can't go wrong with a good motherfucker, right?
You cannot go wrong with a good motherfucker. What sound or noise do you love?
Funny enough, I love the sound of people getting slapped. See? Like, it's one thing, you know, you're watching a movie or a TV show or something and see somebody get punched in the face, but to hear somebody get slapped with an open palm, I just crack up every time. I just keep thinking back to like Pootie Tang or whatever, where Dirty D is just slapping the shit out of somebody.
the old Canadian package.
Yes.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Sound or noise that I hate? Got to be the nails on the chalkboard. That is just one of the most irritating sounds I have ever heard in my life.
Agreed. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I would have said like 10 years ago, and actually probably would still say it now, professional wrestling. There's something about that whole, you know, the whole pomp and circumstance and like coming out and, you know, having all your pyro and fireworks and all this stuff and theme music and just having a whole crowd just cheering for you. There's just something about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's still just storytelling with multiple plot lines and different way of conflict resolution.
Yeah,
right. And that's what wrestling is, I think.
And there's all kinds. Yeah, and you know, you have to wear multiple hats because you have to be an athlete, you have to be an actor, you have to do improv.
Yeah,
you don't have to know psychology, kind of how to read a crowd and
be observant about things.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one we missed. That's one I meant to. Pat Patterson also passed away. Yeah, one of the first openly gay wrestlers in the WWF, would go on to become Vince McMahon's right-hand man and a lot of stuff running the WWE.
Yes.
So shout out to Pat Patterson.
Creator of the Royal Rumble.
The creator of my favorite wrestling event when I was a kid. The Royal Rumble. 32 just fucking throwing haymakers.
Yes.
It's a wild concept. Okay. What profession would you not like to do?
I would not like to be in law enforcement at all. It seems like a stress-filled job. Like, no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
It's a good call. Good call. And lastly, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
If it exists, if it truly exists, I would want to see him, see God, see me, and just at the gates and just say, nope. Nope.
All right, who's next? What? Nope.
Not him.
Right on, sir. Right on. And that, after who knows how many episodes, is a wrap on Mr. German Jackson.
Here.
And your time here on Choose Our Own Adventure. I will edit in some lightly scattered applause.
You can do that.
Ellsworth.
You can do that in memoriam, the fake in memoriam thing for me too, if you like.
In memoriam, German Jackson.
Had a Sarah McLaughlin song
I'll be
playing.
seeing you in all the old familiar places.
Former Test Your Mic champ, 2-time draft champ, German Jackson.
Bronze medalist on the Queen City PodQuest.
So, well, that's all of us, I guess. We will move over to you next, ma'am.
Woo.
What are you ready for your 10?
I am.
Okay. What is your favorite word?
Schadenfreude, which I may be pronouncing wrong, but I'm going for it.
You know what? Those German paprikans will. Sandra will tell us exactly where we went wrong there.
Yes.
Very nice. Very nice. What is your least favorite word?
Moist.
Oh.
No Duncan Hines or Betty Crocker for Leslie.
It's acceptable when you're talking about cake. That's about it.
That's it.
That's about it. Okay. All right. Not a sponge. 3. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
I went with nature, specifically trees. A habit that I had when I lived in Florida and one that I need to get back to was just going walking in a park with a nice foresty trail. Just being in nature, seeing the sunlight through the trees, through the leaves and stuff. I love it. If I need to recharge, that's what I do.
I can get down with that. What turns you off?
Um, Yelling, fighting, and arguing just for the sake of arguing. No, thank you.
Damon Hurd. Note the hesitation there.
I have not met Damon in person, so I can't really answer that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's a bad swipe at him. He's not that bad.
I have someone in mind, but I'm not gonna pull that name out of there.
Is it a Paprika? Can you confirm
I
that?
believe so.
Okay, fair enough.
They're on my block list.
There's only 1,300 to start with. Let's start with the A's. What is your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
And she went for it on that one.
Absolutely my favorite.
All right.
Very
fair enough.
versatile.
And it is versatile. What sound or noise do you love?
I like the sound of rain, and I like the sound of your voice, honey.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's a great voice.
It is the one I was born with. I appreciate that. What sound or noise do you hate?
Loud lip smacking when you're eating. Hate it. Hate it so much. No, no, thank you. That's why I'm not a good babysitter.
All right. Okay. You know what? I actually had that as my first thought as well. As long as it's not overly excessive, like I'm okay people just enjoying the fuck out of their food.
Yeah.
Just not to that level.
Yeah.
All right. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Book editor. I would love to be a book editor. And it's something I considered going to school for, but for various reasons, debt and the whole needing to work your way up through editing by, essentially being an assistant, having a mentor, that sort of thing, needing to live in a larger city, all kind of turned me off to it. But yeah, if I went back, that would probably be what I would go for.
All right, I can get down with that. What profession would you not like to do?
I'm totally with German on this one. I would not be a cop. No, thank you.
Not at all. And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Hi, I'm Jack.
Okay. All right. Well done.
Supernatural fans.
Yeah. All right. That's one for the Supernat fans. And that is a wrap on Paprika host Leslie Ellsworth for all of her time here. A stalled out show that J.K. Rowling fucked us on for being a horrible person. Still somehow one of the better rated shows on Paprika, though. It had some good listens to it, but thank you for all that you've done for Paprika. And me.
Mwah.
Mwah. All right, Mr. Martin. It is on you, sir. Are you ready for your 10 questions?
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. 1. What is your favorite word?
Mozzarella.
You can really just dig into it, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it just rolls off the tongue.
And you can't say it without the Italian hand.
Yeah. Mozzarella. What's the matter? You have us some more.
2. What is your least favorite word?
I'm also on Team Moist.
Oh, okay. You're a moist guy.
No,
Huh?
no, a sponge is not moist. A sponge is damp.
Okay, you know what? I was wrong on that statement. You're correct. Sponge is damp, not moist. 3.
Ugh.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Well, I'm also on trees on this one, but in the sense that, like, I see a tree and I'm like, yeah, dirty bitch. But seriously, though, no, mine is being around like-minded people and brainstorming. I think is really the thing. Like being able to bounce ideas off of other creative types.
Oh, very nice, very nice. What turns you off?
this will come as no surprise, binge watching television shows.
Brian appears with his cape, ready to lecture us about appointment television.
And on the soapbox he goes.
And then there you go.
All right, here we go again.
The box gets bigger every time. What, sir, is your favorite curse word?
When I worked at a movie theater, our assistant manager always used to say this about anything that was just a minor nuisance that he encountered. And I just always loved it. He would say, buzzard fuck. Buzzard fuck remains my favorite curse word.
It sounds
right,
very
then.
Abrahamish. Mother dick.
It does. It is. Loose ends make my ass itch. It's still my favorite line of Abraham's. All right, Mr. Martin, what sound or noise do you love?
This is the sound. It appeared in one comic panel, I think, in all of history, in the Death of Superman storyline, when Doomsday emerges and he holds out his hand. He emerges from a lab and he holds out his hand and a canary lands in it. And he crushes the canary in his hand, and the sound effect is blorch. So blorch is the sound of a crushed canary, and that's my pick.
Oh, thank you, Dan Jurgens. Okay, what sound or noise do you hate?
Pencil erasers that are used by really aggressive children, and the way they like squeak across the page, it just sends a tingle down my spine. I hate it.
Okay, interesting.
Like really aggressive kids.
Okay. Yeah. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Well, I would say professional screenwriting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, I can get down with that. What profession would you not like to do?
Auto sales.
Ooh.
Would not want to sell cars
Those
under
slimy
any
bastards.
circumstances.
Not even if you're co-star with Kurt Russell in used cars. And lastly, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well, I really want God to be like the Old Testament God, and like not just mean and wrathful, but also really like petty and insecure and like super concerned about what people think of him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to get there. It's like, and he's like looking for feedback, but not in that way that's like he honestly wants feedback, but he just like wants you to tell him how great he is. And so I want him to be like, so what'd you think? And then I would be like, if I'm being honest, it needs some fucking work.
All right, fair enough. It's that's reminiscent of one of my favorite Phil Hartman SNL sketches, where he's I think he's like a performer or something like that, and he's talking to his manager, and he's like, what are the people saying? You're a schmuck. Yeah, but what's the word on the street? You're horrible. But what's everybody talking about? You'll never work in this town again. And he just keeps asking the same question over and over again in different ways. Yeah. And I'll just run through mine real quick, fast, and then we'll end this show. For the Bernard Pivot questionnaire, my favorite word, much like chocolate, much like mozzarella, it's taco. Taco is my favorite word because if that's coming out of my mouth, that means I'm about 45 minutes away from eating a taco. What is your least favorite word? For me, it is irregardless.
Not a word. Oh.
Exactly. I'm not a fan of anybody who uses.
Yeah, that's up there. That's up there with conversate.
Right?
It's conversed, damn it. Very well done, Javon. What turns me on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally? This is going to be a weird answer, but it is 1,000% the truth. It's the shower. It is the shower. I first thought of Pineville, stepping into a shower. The idea for us to do the Long Halloween podcast was thought up in the shower. The Test Your Mind Triple Threat match was thought up in the shower. All of Fandom Month was thought up in a shower. When I did earlier this year, my excerpt readings from different fantasy novels, their intros and chapter ones, that idea came to me in the shower. a good bit of my best ideas for Paprika have been in the shower because it's something you've done a million times. You're just doing it by rote muscle memory and allows your mind to just kind of wander. And that's when I've done my best work, I think. What turns me off? Racism. Racism, prejudice, anything of that nature. I can't abide by it. I can't stand it. I don't want it in my world. We as a people cannot succeed to our potential if we have that ridiculous hindrance about us, I think. We are not living up to what we could be in this world. What is your favorite curse word? Obviously, it's fuck. There's so many different ways you can use it. And like Leslie said, it's versatile, it's multifaceted, it is a great tool to have in your tool shed if you know how to use it inventively and creatively. And sometimes just rattling off a good one just changes your entire mood. It can take you from frustrated to just a little bit less frustrated at the silliness that you just thought up. What sound or noise do I love? I actually have 3 answers for this. 2 sports related. I love the crack of a baseball hitting a wooden bat. I love a jump shot that is all net. I love that sound. And staying on Paprika brand, it's the Wilhelm scream. I love the Wilhelm scream. I love it, and I will love it to my dying days. I laugh every time I hear it. What sound or noise do I hate? The yapping of tiny dogs. That ranks incredibly high on the list of things that will take me from 0 to pissed off really fast. And also the exclamation point above a guard's head in Metal Gear Solid. Sound that I fucking hate and have come to dread and fear. What profession other than my own would I like to attempt? I think if you listen to the 700 and some odd tracks of Paprika, that should be obvious. Show host. I would like to be able to host a show. That comes as no surprise to anybody. What profession would I not like to do? I will take Jermon and Leslie's and I will bump it up about 30 levels higher. POTUS. I would never want to be president. I would never. People campaign to take the most stressful job in the nation, which makes no sense to me.
Especially, like, you think about it, it's like a lot of these folks are already rich before the whole POTUS thing. It's like, why would you want this? Like,
but
exactly.
Hey, but the nice thing is, like, if you did, you don't have to do the job. Like, we've
Clearly.
learned that.
We've learned that. I remember back in like 5th or 6th grade when we all as kids just assumed that was the highest paying job you could have. You're running the entire fucking country, one of the quote unquote free nations of the world. And then they're like, nah, there's like CEOs that make more than the president. And we were just like, well, then why the fuck? Why? Why do you want that? I mean, it's great on your resume for after you're president, but free drinks maybe for life. And last but not least, if heaven exists, what would you like God to say when you arrive at the pearly gates? For me, I think I would just like God to say, barely. And he's going to give me that look like, he knows what I did. I know what I've done. He's going to give me that look like, barely. You know what you've done. I'm doing a favor for you and your family by letting you get in. And that's it. That is a wrap on Brian Martin, and that is a wrap on myself. On behalf of, do you have any last words, or did we do all our parting words last episode? All right, then. Sounds good.
Oh, you have it.
Jermon has pulled out the Queen City PodQuest Bronze 3rd place trophy here, just to throw it on display.
Yes.
And you know what? I'd like to circle all the way back to the beginning of this episode where Tom asks podcast recommendations to ease the pain. Check out Work It. Check out the show that we lost to in the biggest competition of our podcasting lives, and let us know what you think. And then listen to the rest of this episode.
Even
and
better.
Let us know which one.
Even better, let them know what you think. It's like,
I mean, personally, I think a show about work, during the middle of the largest level of unemployment in our country's history is a fantastic idea.
oh man, you should have seen
Well, I
the
mean,
story a couple nights ago. Good God.
to their credit, they had no idea this was going to happen.
Granted,
I
yes.
think they
Yeah.
should have held off on premiering this show until sometime next year.
Yes.
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 Unfortunate. It's just the show that that was the winner of this whole thing ends up being job related. But what are you going to do, right?
Hey, see, that's why those bicyclists, man, they should have. They're killing it right now.
The bicyclists could have been killing it right now. Everybody could have been getting in COVID shape, right?
Them and the doctors.
Them and the doctors.
Right?
They're the people who should have won this in hindsight.
They'd have
only
so
German-
many COVID questions.
If only German was a doula.
If only
That'll be my
With
next.
that,
That's what I'm doing after this show's over.
thank you on behalf of Mr. Brian Martin, Miss Leslie Ellsworth, and Mr. Jermon Jackson. It has been quite an interesting 2 years doing this. Hopefully you guys had as much fun as I have while doing this. Thank you to all of the great patrons over the years that have given us questions. Shannon and Scott, Duquan Swint, Brad Ledbetter, Evan Peanut Butter, Vikram, back in the days, Candace Carpenter, Melissa Boris, and many other people who have given us questions.
Stargate, baby. Stargate.
The Manny
Manny
Manfredonia,
Manfredonia.
man. I mean, we got to circle back to this. Brian drafted
Yes,
Stargate and
fucker.
still didn't get the Manny vote.
Oh,
son of
you
a
didn't even
bitch.
get the Manny vote?
Wow.
Oh, that's harsh.
I did it for you, Manny.
Hard.
It was all for you.
Unfortunately, he voted for me. You hate to see it, but that's
Sons
it.
of bitches.
That's it. Thank you very much for your time. This has been a 2-hour double, giant-sized Paprika issue. But we're going to go ahead and sign off. Until then, you guys take it easy, and we will see you around. Have a good one. Thank you very much.